How many hours have you spent on Stripe, Supabase, Slow Next.js? Today we're gonna nuke it all. With Clerk's new billing and Convex real-time database, we're gonna build a production-ready SaaS template, landing page, auth-protected dashboard, and payments in one sitting. By the end of this video, you're gonna have it all. We're literally gonna start from an empty folder. Let's do it.
Now, before we dive in, let me show you what the end result will look like. We're going to have a beautiful landing page like this that we're going to build using Tailer.ch. Going to have beautiful feature section like this with custom components with animations from 21st Dev and Magic UI. We're going to have a pricing section which will implement using Clerk billing. And we're going to have even more beautiful custom animations like this from React Bits. Now let me try signing up and showing you the beauty and the power of Convex database. So we're gonna sign up for the first time ever, and as you can see on the left, we have 0 users currently. Let's sign up. And let's check out how fast the user appeared on the left here. As you can see, Convex database is super real time, and the user synced to the database as soon as we signed up. We're going to have a standard Shadcn dashboard like this. But most importantly, we're going to have this payment gated page where the users will need a subscription to actually view the content of this page. Again, this will be managed by Clerk billing, and I'll show you how easy it is to set up. Now, because this is managed by Clerk billing, adding or removing plans will be super easy for us. And let me show you what I mean. Here we see 4 plans that are currently available: the free plan, starter, hobby, and pro. I don't want to have this pro plan anymore. So how can I get rid of it? If I go to Clerk and configure my Clerk project here and delete a subscription plan from it, we should see that our already deployed project, which is deployed here, will have the pro plan disappear, literally almost in real time as well. So the plan is deleted. Let's refresh the page. And as you can see, the pro plan is gone. This is how easy it is to add new plans, remove plans with Clerk billing. Clerk billing is absolutely amazing. Now let's actually pay for a subscription to see the contents of this page. Let's pay with card. Payment was successful. Let's click away. And as soon as we do it, immediately we start seeing the content of the payment gated page. Another cool thing about what we're going to build today is how fast the tab switching works in this Next.js project. Next.js is a very powerful framework, but if you don't set it up correctly, I'm sure you've noticed that it can be slow, especially when you change pages like this. Here, we're going to use the latest best practices of Next.js to actually make our pages and routes super fast with optimistic rendering. And finally, let's show the power of Convex again. Let's try to delete our account and see how fast we get the update for it in our Convex database. So if we press here, we will see the Clerk's customer portal. That's also very easy to set up. It comes out of the box. We go to security and we decide that we want to delete our account. Let's delete it now and watch what happens on the left. The user is gone, literally in less than a second. Now let's actually begin building this. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to be starting from scratch. And so the first step we need to do is we need to create a folder where our next app is going to be. So I'm just going to call it Next.js Starter Kit. It's an empty folder. Then if we open cursor and open it at that folder, we're going to run the first command of the day to actually initialize the default starter Next.js project. And to do that, we're just going to type in next, create next app, latest. And because we've already created the folder, we need to add dot at the end of this command, which will put all of the Next.js stuff in the folder that we just created. So Next, I'm just going to press enter for all of the defaults that Next.js is suggesting us. And boom, we've got the classic standard Next.js app. So now, previously, if you remember, we had that beautiful Shadcn dashboard. And so without any wait, let's add it. So I went to ui.shadcn/blocks, and that's the dashboard that we saw in the beginning of the video, and I want to add it. And so to do that, I'm just going to copy this command, put it in my terminal. I'm gonna press enter for all the defaults again, and let's wait for it to finish running. Awesome, it's finished. Now we can already run npm dev, and so after we've ran it, we should be able to go to localhost, and we'll have two pages. We'll have the standard page at localhost 3000, and we're gonna also have the dashboard page. Here it is. Okay, now let's work on the landing page a little bit so that we have the login and sign up buttons and a basic hero section. To do that, we're going to use Tailer.ch. Here is Tailer.ch. Tailer.ch has all the blocks that you need for your marketing needs for your landing page. It has a collection of different hero sections. It has feature blocks already made for you as well to showcase features of your app. Here they are, and lots of other different marketing blocks. For now, we just need the hero section. I'm just going to go with this basic one. Now to add it, we can just paste the command that we just copied from Tailer.com, press enter. And after it finishes running, we will have a new component in our components folder called hero section. Now, if we want to add it to our page, let's just completely remove everything we've got here by default. And let's import it at the top. Save the page. And if we go to our local host and refresh the page, okay, we're getting some errors because of how we get the image for the hero section. So to fix it, we'll need to go to next.config.ts and add this code right here. After we do that, everything works now. Here's our beautiful landing page. Okay, now it's already time to implement authentication into our app. And we're going to be using Clerk for authentication, but we're also going to be using Convex for our database. And we need both Clerk and Convex to be in sync with each other so that when a new user registers, we add this newly registered user to our database. To do that, we'll need to go to Convex docs, and we'll need to go to Clerk with Convex authentication guide. And we're just going to follow it. So we're going to be using Next.js. And the first thing that it asks us to do is to get a account at Clerk. So let's do that. I already have multiple projects in my account. So let's create a new one and call it Next.js Starter Kit. We're going to have an email sign-in and Google. That's perfect. Let's create the application. Okay, so the first step is done. And step 2 is done as well, actually. So the third step that it's asking us to do is to create a JWT template. Let me show you how we can do that. If we go back to Clerk, we go to Configure, and then we go to JWT templates here on the left, we'll need to add a new template. Here, we will choose convex. And most importantly, we want to press save as soon as we choose the template. Done. Perfect. Now, step 3 is actually done. By the way, here they explicitly mention that it must be called convex, and we do have the name convex here, so this is all good. And so now in step 4 we need to create .env file and put the clerk URL there. So let's do that. Let's go back to our cursor. Let's create a new file and call it env.local. We're going to paste in what we had at the docs, and we're going to go back to clerk and copy this URL. Boom. Okay, step 5. Let's now create this file. But before we do that, we actually need to install a couple of dependencies in our Next.js project. So first, we need to add convex. Awesome. And while we're at it, let's add clerk as well. So pnpm add clerk / next.js. Awesome. Now we need to do the final command to actually get this folder automatically generated for us by doing the following: npx convex dev. Now, if you are not logged in into Convex, it might ask you to log in. I'm already logged in, so it's already asking me to create a new project. And yes, we do want to create a new project, and we're going to call it Next.js Starter Kit. Perfect. As you can see, in our .env.local file, we automatically got these 2 new environment variables here. That's perfect for us. And if you look on the left here, we have the convex folder. That's exactly what we needed. Now we can create this auth config.ts file in our convex folder. So let's do that. Make sure you have TypeScript here. Let's copy the code and literally just paste it in. Now, as you can see in our terminal, we have an error where we don't have this next public clerk front-end API URL set up in our environment variables. So we can just command click on this link that they provide us. And as you can see, we are inside the project that we've just created, Next.js Starter Kit. Let's copy this environment variable and insert it here and save. Now we've got the green check mark saying Convex is running properly. Perfect. Let's go back to the documentation. So we've done this step. We've done this step 2. Now we need to add clerk API keys. Let's go back to clerk, go to API keys, and here they are. You can just copy it. We paste it in. Boom. We've got the keys. Let's now do step 9 and just copy paste this code here into a new file that we're going to create called middleware, which in the future will help us protect the dashboard route from non-authenticated users, which means that only authenticated users should be able to view the dashboard page. Okay, so now we are going to step 10, where we need to create this Convex client provider. For that, let's create a new file in our cursor. We'll call it Convex Client Provider.tsx. Note the name, how we're naming this component. Let's copy the code from here, add it, save it. And now we need to add the provider that we just created into our app layout. So to do that, I'm going to copy these two lines here. I'm going to go to layout, I'm going to import. If you notice, this is the client provider file that we just created here. So this is what we've done literally in the previous step. And so now, after we've imported these, we can wrap our children with this. Done. Now in the next step, we can already implement authentication and protect some routes in our Next.js app. So we have this login and sign up button, and what we want to do is we want to allow users to click it and either sign in with Google or email and get redirected to the dashboard page after they've authenticated. Let's do that. As mentioned in Convex docs, we can do it similar to this. So our login and sign up buttons are in the header component here. This header, if we go to hero section, that's the hero header where the buttons are. If we command click on it, we're going to see the actual header component here. And by the way, don't mind the red lint errors that we're having here. We're going to do a couple of minor fixes to fix it. But yeah, so we've got the header, and this header has the login and sign up buttons, and it has the get started button. When the user scrolls, the login and sign up, they turn into a get started button. So to add authentication to these buttons, let's go back to the tutorial and let's import these buttons from Clerk. And importantly, we need to also import authenticated and unauthenticated from Convex specifically. And they mention it here as well, that we actually need to use Convex's authenticated and unauthenticated helper components to figure out if the user is signed in or not. So we actually use the Convex's components, not the Clerk ones. And if we would go to Clerk's documentation, they would say the same. So let's do that. Let's go back to our header. Let's import these components. Let's start with unauthenticated buttons. So these are the login and sign up buttons that we saw here. Here they are. So we need to wrap all of this in unauthenticated helper components from Convex. Nice. Now we need to also change to have this button as a sign-in button. If we go to Clerk's documentation, go to Clerk components, we'll see the sign in and sign up buttons, but I actually want to use the unstyled components from Clerk to allow us to have the Shadcn styled login and sign up buttons here, because the sign in, sign up button here, they're actually styled in Clerk style. We don't want that. We want to keep our original style. And so we're going to use these ones instead. So if we go back to cursor, we have the sign in button, we have the sign up button, and we have the user button. Here we can wrap our login button with sign in, wrap our sign up with sign up, and we're going to wrap our get started with sign up as well. Perfect. Now, if we go back to our website and try to log in, we're going to get redirected to the login page already. We can continue with Google, press continue, and we're signed in. Notice how the buttons have disappeared because they're only shown if the user is non-authenticated. And notice how we were actually redirected to a sign-in page. I actually don't want to be redirected to a separate page. I want the sign-in, sign-up to be a modal that just overlays our landing page just purely for user experience reasons. And if we go to documentation, go to the sign-in button, we're going to have this mode that we can add here to all of the buttons so that when we press it, actually a modal appears instead of us being redirected to a separate page. So this is the unauthenticated buttons that we just created. Let's clean up our code a little bit. Now we want to add authenticated buttons, the ones that a user will see when they're authenticated. So we're going to show a user button for now, and let's just save it and see how it looks. Here, we have the user button that you can already press and start managing your account. For example, add a new email address, you'll see how you logged in, and here you can delete your account. But I want to also add a dashboard button here so that it links to our /dashboard page. How do we do that? Well, simply, we can add a button here. We will have it link to our dashboard. It's going to say dashboard. We need to import the link. Oh, we'll already have that, so we just need to delete this. And let's see how it looks. Boom, we've got the dashboard. And if we press it, we get redirected to the dashboard. Perfect. And if we sign out, we will see the login and sign up buttons here. Now let's test the get started button as well, just in case. And as you can see, we already have the modal that I was talking about instead of a separate login redirect page. So let's actually sign in, sign back in. And after we're signed in, we stay on this page. This is actually not the behavior that I want. I want to be redirected. So how do we do that? If we go to Clerk documentation, we will see that there is a sign up force redirect and sign up fallback redirect, and the same for sign in. But here in the documentation, they're saying that it's recommended to use the environment variables instead. And so let's just press on this link here and we will see what they mean. We actually need the sign in force, sign up force, and the fallbacks. So let's copy all of these and we're just going to add it to our environment variables. So let's add this and it's going to be /dashboard. Same here. And let's add the last two. Okay, let's save it. Let's log out. Let's try logging back in again. And we should be redirected. Perfect. So now, as soon as users sign up, they get redirected to the dashboard page. Okay, next step we want to do is we want to protect the dashboard page from non-authenticated users, which means that if you are not signed in, you should not be able to see that page. And currently, you can. So if you've noticed, we're signed out, but we can still go to this dashboard page. So how do we protect it? That's actually very simple to do with Clerk. If we go to our middleware, if we add the special create route matcher and import it as well here at the top, and then change our Clerk middleware to check if the route is one of the protected ones, this is literally all the code you need to protect the dashboard page from non-authenticated users. So if we save this, if we go back to our app, and if we try to go to dashboard, we should be redirected to the sign-in page. So now that route is protected. So if we continue with Google now, sign in again as usual. Boom, everything works as expected. Okay, so now we want to have that payment gated page that we saw in the beginning of this tutorial, where you can only view the contents of the page if you have purchased a subscription. So let's now move to the clerk billing part. First, let's just delete all of this unnecessary routes that we have here. We can do that in app sidebar. We can delete all of these. And we're going to say that this one is a payment gated page. Let's have the URL for it as dashboard/payment gated, and we should see this UI after we made the changes. Now, currently there's only the dashboard route here, and we want to be able to switch between these two routes. So we need to create a page for the payment gated page. Let's do that. Inside dashboard, let's create a new folder, call it payment gated. We're going to have a page inside of this folder. And for now, let's just do a simple page like this. So now, if we go to /dashboard/payment gated, we'll see this page. But here's the problem. Where did the sidebar go? So this is another thing that we need to do now. We need to make sure that the sidebar is visible for all the routes here, no matter what page we're on. To do that, we'll create a layout.tsx, and we're going to move the code from the page into layout. This layout will then be shared between the dashboard page, payment gated page, and any other new feature, for example, page that we create in the future. So to do that, let's import all of the stuff that we're importing in the page and put it into layout. Then let's create, let's call it dashboard page first of all. And we're going to create a similar layout here. So in the layout, we are going to copy paste all of the stuff from the page, and we're going to paste it here. Perfect. Now, we can now change this to have only the children, like this. And we will have to add them here. Perfect. Now, inside the page, we want to delete everything apart from the actual content of the page. So we've got the section cards, the chart area, and the data table. So these things. If we save, everything works. But now if we go to payment gated, we're still going to see the sidebar here. Okay, so now to be able to actually switch between those two routes, we need to make a couple of minor changes to the nav main component here. And where we have the title here and the icon, we actually want to wrap it in a link like this. We want to import the link from Next.link. Let's do that. Import. And now, if we refresh the page, there's a little bit of styling problems. Let's fix it very fast here. We can do that by just wrapping all of this in a div. Actually, we need to, instead of that, we need to wrap the actual sidebar menu button in this link, in this Next.js link component. After we do that, we should see the styling. That looks good. And now when I press on dashboard, we go to dashboard. When I press on payment gated, we go to payment gated. Perfect, everything works. So now let's improve this payment gated page that we have. To do that, let's go back to cursor. Here's our payment gated page. And I want to create two different components that will conditionally render depending on if the user has paid or not paid. So let's call it actual features, and this will be upgrade card. So if you remember from our working example, when the user hasn't paid, we need to show them these upgrade cards where the user can actually press here and subscribe. This is what we're going to have in this upgrade card. So it's already suggesting me some code. Let's just accept it for now. But what we do want from this code is we want to have just an upgrade to Pro to access all features. This is the first element. And then here, where we have the upgrade button, let's check how it looks right now. So this is the working version. Let's go back to our local host. If we refresh, oh, we need to actually render this. So let's show the upgrade card first. So this is the upgrade to Pro. And instead of this button, we want to have these cards here, right? So this is very easy to do in Clerk. Clerk actually has this pricing table component that we import from clerk/next.js, and we can just render it here, pricing table. Let's see what happens if we do that. So currently it's saying that it cannot be rendered while billing is disabled. So let's enable it. To do that, let's go to Clerk. Okay, so to enable it, let's go to subscriptions, get started, create a plan. Here we have the free plan, and let's add a premium plan. Let's make it $19 per month, and let's actually add an annual discount. Let's make it a $15 per month if you pay annually. Let's save it, and if we go back to localhost, it's still showing that we need to enable billing. So yeah, that's the last thing I forgot to do. We just need to press this button, enable billing, and boom, billing is enabled. Let's refresh the page again, and we see the cards. We see the premium plan that we just created already displayed. We can pay for it annually, monthly, and even if I press this button right here, we already have the checkout happening. It's just incredibly simple. So now we've got the upgrade card. Now we need to conditionally render actual features if the user has paid. All right, so let's use the protect. Let's wrap it in protect. And the protect is gonna render the actual features, but it's gonna have a fallback. It's gonna have a fallback of the upgrade card. So this is the fallback that we're gonna have, but we also need to set up a condition at which this fallback is shown. So just copy paste this. This will check if the user does not have a free plan and render the fallback if the user is free. Otherwise, the actual features will be shown inside this protect wrapper. So if we save this, if we go back to localhost, we will see that we need to upgrade to view this content. Let's do that. Let's subscribe right now. Let's pay with a test card. Payment was successful. We click away and boom. And boom, we essentially just created a page which is only available to users if they've paid for your subscription. Now, the last thing that I want to do is to have this button at the bottom here actually show a customer portal where the user can sign out, change their subscription if there are multiple plans, etc., etc. So how do we do that? For that, we need to go to our nav user component, which is this component here. We need to import a couple of things from Clerk. Let's do that. So let's import use Clerk and use user from Clerk Next.js. Then we want to add this to our nav user component. open user profile in the clerk user to get the data from the users. Then when the sidebar menu button is clicked, we want to show the user profile. We will also need to remove the drop-down menu stuff. Let's delete all of this. Let's remove all of the drop-down menu stuff from here as well. And delete all the unused icons. Let's save this. Now, when we click here, we get the Clerk customer portal open where I can delete my account, change my billing, switch plans, for example, switch to annual, add a new payment method, all of the good stuff. So now we want to actually display the name and the email of the currently logged in user here, and that will be super simple as well. Instead of the avatar image, let's paste this in, which will take the clerk user stuff here, and the avatar fallback should just be the full name. Now our Copilot is already suggesting us what to put here. So yes, we want to put the full name, the email address, make sure it's truncated here. Let's save it, and boom, perfect. We have it working. So now the last thing that I want to do personally is, if you will notice that when I press on the dashboard page, it's a bit slow. The user experience is not great when I switch between tabs. I mean, it's still very fast because, I mean, there's no live data that we're fetching in these components, so they are just static components. But it's still very slow. You don't know which page you're on here. And I think for a complete good user experience, we need to add all of this stuff in. And so let's do that. Let's optimize how we switch between these routes, and let's make the active tab that we're on actually show up here. So to do that, we're going to go to our nav main where the tabs actually are. We're going to add this. So this is the optimistic route fetching, the one that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and we're going to use path name from the URL to actually understand which page the user is on. So let's paste all of this good stuff in. So this is where we get the path name, and this is where we do the optimistic path and a little bit of loading state here as well. Just do the same code as I'm doing here. There's not too much to copy. Then we actually want to implement everything that we've just copy pasted, and we need to go to the sidebar menu, find where we iterate through the items, through the nav items. So let's do the following. Let's do this. Now we need to do this. Okie dokie. So now this curly bracket, and we have a return statement that returns us this. Now we want to paste this in. So this is where we're going to track which path is active. And inside the sidebar menu button, we can add a prop that will check which menu button is active and to actually switch between the tabs optimistically. Perfect. So now everything should work. As you can see, we do have slight color change here, but it's not very visible. So we can actually change that in our global CSS to make the color of this a little bit more prominent. All right, so to make this color a little bit more prominent when we switch the tabs here, we can go to F12 and then inspect the color of the chosen tab. We will see that it's actually the sidebar accent foreground and just the sidebar accent colors, right? So to make it a little bit more visible, we can go to global CSS. Here we can find the sidebar accent color here, and we can make it 0.88, for example. And if we go back, boom, now it's a little bit more visible. Now, yes, perfect. Okay. All right, so now one last thing that we have left to do is that, as you remember in the beginning of the tutorial, when user has signed up with Clerk for the first time, we actually got some data synced to our Convex database. And to set that up, there's actually a tutorial on how to do it here, but it's pretty simple to do. So let me just walk you through it. So the first thing that we need to create is this http.ts file in our Convex folder. This is essentially going to be a route that Clerk is going to be sending webhooks to when the users are created, updated, or deleted. So just look at this code and basically copy paste it to your project. We will need to do the following two commands as well. So we will need to add Clerk backend to our project, and we will need to add Swix to our project through pnpm because we use these two things here. So this is the webhook. Then inside this webhook, we actually call the upsert from Clerk function here. And a delete from Clerk function here. So where do we actually get these functions? We get these functions when we create a new file inside our Convex folder that should be called users.ts. And inside of this file, we are going to have the upsert from Clerk and the delete from Clerk functions that are going to help us insert users to our database and update users, and delete them as well from the database. So this is the code. Again, you can just take it. There are some helper functions as well, like get user or use user by external ID, where the external ID is, by the way, the ID of users inside Clerk. It's the Clerk ID, basically. So that's the users. And the last file that we need to create is actually the schema, where we defined what the table actually looks like. So we just have the name and the external ID columns, and Clerk is automatically going to do like the created at columns and ID in the internal Clerk ID, the internal Convex ID, all of that good stuff. And so after we've created these three files, users, schema, and HTTP, none of the auth config needs to be changed. Basically, just create those three files. We actually need to start sending events from Clerk to our Convex database. And to do that, we can go to our Clerk dashboard. We can go to webhooks here, and we can create an endpoint. So I've already created one. It's going to ask you to actually add an endpoint URL. And so the way that you get the endpoint URL, you remember this is the /clerk users webhook that we see here, right? So this is where Clerk is going to be sending events to. And so it's going to be /clerk users webhook, but we also need to have the URL of our database. So where do you get this URL? Well, if you go to your Convex dashboard, if you go to settings, if you go to URL and deploy key, and then you click here, you'll see the deployment URL. And so this is the deployment URL of our database. This is where our database is. But here's the important caveat that they actually talk about in the documentation as well, that the deployment URL that you get from the Convex dashboard, it is .cloud, right? So here, it's .cloud. So when you copy this and try to input it here, we actually need to change from .cloud to .site. So we change it to .site, click save. That's going to be one thing, right? Then we need to actually enable which events we're going to be sending, and the events will be just the user created, user deleted, and user updated events. So this is the events that we're subscribed to, created, deleted, updated. So just choose that. And then once you do that and you click save, you will be provided with a signing secret. This signing secret, you will need to copy it. And as it says in the documentation, you will need to add this clerk webhook secret environment variable to your Convex dashboard. And this is what I've actually already done. So as you can see, we have this clerk webhook secret, which is this one right here. And after you do all of this, you will literally have the functionality of having users created and deleted from your Convex database. So here I'm trying to delete my account. It's saying that he needs the verification code. Let's just give it to them. All right, so I got my verification code from my email. Let's delete our account. Let's check our database to see if we have any users in there. No, we don't have any users at Convex right now, but let's now create an account, right? Let's continue with Google, sign up as usual, as we've done multiple times today. Continue. Okay, we're signed in, and boom, right? So inside Convex, we'll already have this user. You can, customize this and create like new mutations. Like for example, I don't want just the name and the external ID from clerk. Maybe I want the email and the full name, like all of that different stuff. You would just add it here. You would update the schema to have not just the name and external ID, but for example, email as well. So that's how you customize it. And then also, if you, for example, want to track billing information from Clerk, because as you remember, everything that we do through Clerk, when we, for example, subscribe to a new plan, we can also get webhook events sent from Clerk to our Convex database to check what plan the user has, how much he paid, all of that stuff. And to do that, you will basically need to also enable to subscribe to a new event. It's going to be payment attempt updated. And if you check the documentation for what this event does, it actually has basically all of the information we need to keep track of how much about all of the clerk billing stuff inside Convex. So it has the subscription items that the person is buying, the amount, how much he has previously paid. So if he has some previous credit, that's what they call it. The plan, whether it was the monthly payment, whether it's even like recurring, when it's past due, when it's basically all of the stuff that you need. There's actually a lot of different webhook events about subscriptions that you can get, but trust me, you actually only need this one, and don't overcomplicate your life. Just use this one, otherwise it gets confusing. And the reason why you only need this one, and you're kind of forced to use only this one, is because this event, it has the clerk's internal user ID. So the user ID that we have inside Clerk, this is one of the only few events that actually for some reason provide that Clerk user ID. But that's enough for us, because again, we have this user table, and this is the actual Clerk user ID. So let's do a quick recap of what we've done. We've started with literally a empty folder that we first initialized a Next.js app to. Then we added a Shadcn dashboard. Then we quickly made a landing page using Tailer.ch. After that, we've implemented Clerk and Convex to have authentication on our website. We've protected the dashboard route to only be viewable by authenticated users. And then we've created a payment gated page where only users that have a paid plan can access the features of that page. It took us about an hour to do the entire thing, which I think is pretty good. And if you actually want to get access to all of this code, including all the React bits animations, the magic UI component stuff, the custom 21st dev components with cool animations, you can check out the GitHub link below, which has a free version of what we were trying to build today. It has the dark mode as well, and the sync between clerk billing and the Convex database, where if the user has actually paid, we will get that information inside Convex too. I mean, to get the basic version of this app working, we actually don't need to sync all the payment information, because all of this happens on the clerk billing side. And so we can still, as shown in this tutorial, we're able to check if the user has a subscription or not. But there could be some use cases where You want to limit users' usage of your app based on how many API calls they've made, for example. And in those cases, you will need to sync all the payment information to Convex. And so all of that is already working in the public GitHub repository that I have linked below. In the next video, we're actually going to use that already working repository, and I'll just show you how to install it very quickly. It will take less than an hour this time around to get you up to speed on building your next business idea. So yeah, that's it for this video. Subscribe. Don't forget to star the GitHub repo that I have below in the description. And please like this video. It helps the algorithm. As you know, I've made this template so that myself personally, I can start building my new ideas faster, and I want to help you guys do the same. So yeah, peace out and see you in the next video.